Okay guys, here's a beat for you. A bit of an unusual one this. Back in the day I used to play in a reggae band, and this is one of the beats in one of the songs we had. There's a couple of things that are unusual about this. Okay, first thing about this beat, in one of the previous beats we looked at, the stepper beat, I said to you that with those kind of beats where the kick drum is stepping, dum, 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 like that, there's a technique the drummer will often do if he's got good hi-hat skills of doing this double open slice lick on the hats. This beat features that lick. The other thing about this beat is that we're working, like with the Amigo Black Slate beat we looked at before, we're working at double tempo. Okay, really this is a slow rootsy beat at around 61, 62 beats per minute, but we're doubling the tempo to 122, so that a 1 bar pattern is 2 bars long. Okay, alright, so let's get to making this beat. Put a cycle range around 1 bar like that, but because we're working at double tempo, this is half of the bar that we'll end up with. Put in an empty region like that. Okay, now we're working at double time, so the grid is set to the default 16ths. There's a quarter beat, there's a quarter beat, there's a quarter beat, there's a quarter beat, but because we're working at double tempo, each of these quarter beats is going to behave like an eighth, and the default 16th grid is going to behave like 30 seconds. So we're going to put our hi-hats in eighths, but they'll behave as 16ths because we're doubling the tempo. So get the brush tool, put the quantize to eighths, and we're going to brush in a row of closed hats. Oh, like that. Make them nice and short, so there's a nice grid gap between them. That just makes them easier to see, it doesn't make them play back shorter. Get their velocity up to about 100, and then I'm going to lower the velocity of every other hat. Hold down shift to select every other hat, and lower their velocity down to about 35. Okay, now there's a little double hi-hat lick at the end to go into the double slice. So Alt, copy that across, make those a little bit shorter so they're easier to manage, and adjust the velocity. This first one wants to be at about 35, and this one a bit louder though, at about 60 or 50 something. Okay, that double lick pushes back into this first note, give that more velocity, and the note there on the second half of this pattern here, make that a bit louder as well. Okay, now this double lick into that note leads into the double slice of the hat, and we're going to use this, the thinner hi-hat foot splash open hat down the bottom we looked at before. Get these two notes, drop them down to that foot splash open hat. Okay, now make their velocity the same. I'm going to start with them at a velocity of 80. We can change that afterwards. Like that. Okay, and then bring this one forward 1 grid line. Yeah, we're doubling the tempo, so these 16th default grid lines are behaving as 30 seconds. We're bringing it forward 1 grid line, like that. And there's the open slice. Yeah, like, but these open hats last too long. We need to shut them down with the closed foot. We know about this from the previous beat we looked at. Alt, copy onto the hi-hat foot closed. Now when the hi-hat foot closed note happens, it shuts the open hi-hat down from playing. So bring these back 1 grid line, and they will shut these two pedals will shut the open hat down, so it doesn't, each of these open hats doesn't play for very long, so we get a tight little slice. Okay, then we just lower the pedals down in velocity so we don't really hear them, nice and low. And then the two splashes, you can lower them a little bit as well. Okay, and you can vary the tightness of that slice by bringing these forward, and the two slices will get shorter. But I find it's about right there. Okay, and there's the hats. Now the kick is doing a stepper thing. Give it some velocity, 100. It's doing a stepper thing, but we're doubling the tempo, right? So if we put a kick on every quarter beat, because we're doubling the tempo, each of these quarter beats is behaving as an eighth because we're doubling the tempo, so this gives us an eighth stepper kick. Okay, and then the drop can be the side stick or the snare. I'm using a combination of both. You can use either or both together. And now in this case the drop is on the third beat, but because we're doubling the tempo, this is an eighth, this is an eighth, this is an eighth, this is an eighth, this is half the bar. So this is a quarter beat, and this is a quarter beat, so the drop is actually on the second quarter beat here, on the 2. But that's why some people say that reggae, the drop is on the 3, because they're counting it at half time. Okay, all right. So there's half the bar, and then finally there's a couple of little snare licks with the double hi-hat there. Shorten those and get their velocity right down. That one. I'm just going to lower that snare a bit so the rim shot comes through loud, the side stick comes through louder. Right, and there's the beat. We'll look at variations in a bit. Okay, so it's the bass line next. Put in an empty region on the bass track. And now, before we get the bass line together, we want to double this pattern up because we're working at double time. So this is only half of our bar. Okay, so Alt, drag a copy across for the drums, select them both, right click, get the shortcut menu up, join them together, bring the cycle wrench around them both. So now we've got a 2-bar pattern, but because we're working at double time, this is 1 bar. Okay, and then bring the drum empty region, the bass empty region out like that. Right, let's get our bass together. Now, I want to come in. I'm going to work in C. I'm going to what I like, what feels good to me, is to come in with 2 big quarter note pushes like that. Remember, each of these quarter notes, because we're doubling the tempo, is behaving as an eighth. So that's a quarter beat. That's a quarter beat. This is a whole bar. 2 big quarter note pushes like that. Give me this really deep, slow, rootsy double push at the beginning, and I'm lowering the velocity right down because I want a nice soft rounded deep bass tone here, and the lower the velocity with these bass instruments, the less attack you get from the notes, right? So it gives a nice soft rounded deep kind of bass sound. So I've got this boom boom like that, and what I like about this is that it's 2 good rootsy notes. The first one pushes off, opening the pattern off the first beat of the bar. The second one pushes off the drop on the 2 here, because we're doubling the tempo, so that's the 2. And because this is single note, the double slice of the hi-hat, which is underneath this, is not masked. You really hear it, it becomes a feature, right? But then following those 2 big notes, we'll go into a faster thing. Like that, and then end on a couple of eighth pushes. Remember, these are eighths. Each quarter beat is behaving as an eighth because we're doubling the tempo. And I really like that. It's got a real nice boom, boom, really rootsy and deep, and it gives it that depth. But there's so many things you could do with the bass here. I mean, because we've got a stepper kick drum going on, boom, 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 I could come in with the same thing we had in the stepper, you know, a traditional stepper intro. I could come in with 3 or 4 eighths. Remember, each quarter beat's behaving as an eighth there because we're doubling the tempo, right? Or I could come in with 4 eighth pushes. In which case I'd drop that note out to leave a gap there. Or I could do a climb thing. You know, if in doubt, do a climb, up or down, yeah. But we'll do a doom, 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 or something like that, like this. Something like that. And because I've got this doom, doom, doom triple to end this half of the bar, I'll come in with 2 eighths maybe here. Like that. Let's try that. And then I could end it on just a single note. But that's not really feeling right to me. I need a bigger gap, so I'll bring these back. And then make this into a triple push here. Come on, just one of you. And then go back to a double eighth push at the end like that. You know what I mean? I could let's try double eighth. Come back down there. Or I could do a varying up and down thing like this. Doom, 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 doom. You know what I mean? It's just so many things you could do with it, and you can vary things. The pattern at the end. You could do the climb at the end or something. Do a thing like that. Or this could be an octave up. Or that could be just single there, so it's 2 eighths at the end. Or I could come in an 16th late like that. You know what I mean? There's just endless things you could do. But I really like that big double quarter note push. Like that. I really like that because it really gives me this big rootsy doom, doom. Yeah. And then into the fast fingered thing there. Pardon me. Like that. So I get the 2 big booming notes here, doom, 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 and then contrasting that in the second half of the bar, do, 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 you know, and then into the 2 eighth pushes at the end. Like that. Oh, come forward, you. Like that. Okay, there's the bass. Nice low velocity notes, giving it that really soft attack to the instrument. This, as I said, the lower the velocity, the softer the attack from the bass instruments in Logic. And then if we just look at the EQ for the bass, here's its track, here's its channel, there's the EQ. I've got the high cut here, right down at 110, 112 hertz, right down there. Oh, come on, right down there at the bottom, just cutting everything above 110, 112 hertz out. So just the very bottom end of the bass, combined with the softer notes, gives us a deep, rootsy. Like that. Okay. So let's get the guitar in now. I say this for each of these beats in case someone drops in from YouTube. This is part of a playlist. We're doing everything to do with reggae and dub. And we happen to be using Logic, but basically the patterns I'm showing you could do these in any sequencer, and the techniques I'm showing you could do in any sequencer. But we're just going through a whole bunch of beats now, and for each one we do, beats with bass lines that go with them. For each one we do, we're just putting one rhythm instrument, just a guitar, doing basic chat rhythm chaps like that. Once we've gone through a whole load of beats with bass lines, then we'll come to things like rhythm keyboards. Okay, so we'll put in a guitar region, bring it out to 2 bars long, but that's 1 bar because we're working in double tempo, right? Now, because we're working in double tempo, each of these quarter beats is behaving as an eighth, so the guitar is going to fall on these quarter beats, but they're eighths. So this is a quarter beat, and the guitar's still falling in the middle of the quarter beats. There, 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 and there. Okay, so we're in C. So put in a note, give it some velocity, about 105, nice and strong, like that. We're going to go with C minor, right, and then copy that across there. So the drop's happening here, and the guitar's still in the middle of the quarter beats, because remember, at double tempo, 2 of these quarter beats is a 1 quarter beat at double tempo. Then copy that across to the second half of the bar, and we come down to a G. And I'm going to bring the root G note up an octave, like that. Okay, and just shorten these so they're nice and chappy. There's your guitar. Okay. Now, let's just look up here. There's this tambourine. We saw this in previous beats. I made this myself. You've got to make your own tambourine loop, because in reggae you don't strike the tambourine on the palm. You hold it in the hand and you shake it backwards and forwards with the whole arm rhythmically, like that. The only way to get that is to make your own loop by finding some tambourine shakes on the internet and making them into an apple loop. I'm going to make a video showing you how to do that, and then you'll know how to do it, and you can make any loops yourself. Okay, we'll get to that video. But the tambourine works with any beat, and with this particular beat, like with any stepper type beat, you can be up really loud and dominant. Or it can be, you know, down further around below the hats. More subtle, it's up to you. Okay, but I'll show you how to make the tambourine soon. Now there's another thing. In the beat, we've got the little double snare lick with the double hat leading into the that little little double snare there, right? Yeah, into the. Well, look, I've got the World Percussion Latin kit here on a track. You can do that double with a timbali. This is not a great timbali. You want a much more dull timbali for reggae, because in reggae, really, a timbali is made by getting an old snare, taking off the bottom head and the snare wires and everything, and then tightening the shit out of it and padding it like mad with some tissue paper and gaffer tape, right? It's a little bit thin and ringing, this timbali, but you can have that double lick played by the timbali like this. Okay, that's kind of optional. I'll take that out though. Okay, so there's the whole beat, right? Okay, now let's look at some variations. Let's go to the mixer. Now, you know, when we set the kit up in the first video, we set up a spring reverb and an echo doing 8th dotted. Okay, now here's the guitar. If I turn up the echo, this is the echo on our echo return channel here. Here it is. It's an 8th dotted, but because we've doubled the tempo, it's now behaving as a 16th dotted. It's going to give us a faster echo. Have a listen. So that's now a 16th dotted echo. And if we put that 16th dotted echo on the snare, just like with the 8th dotted, where I put the 8th dotted on the snare, and I said to you, look, listen to where the echo repeats happen coming off the snare on the drops, and that's the foundation of where drummers will put little offbeat licks on the snare, toms, and other drums. Well, it's the same with the 16th dotted, and our 8th dotted echo is now behaving as a 16th dotted because we've doubled the tempo. The positions where the echo repeats fall coming off the snare on the drop with the 16th dotted gives you another whole bunch of 32nd and 16th echo offbeat variations, and again these become the basis for another lot of little variation licks that the drum will put in, little drags and little things on the snare. Have a listen. You can have this turned up on the snare, this 8th dotted echo now behaving as a 16th dotted echo because of the double tempo, and it adds in all this kind of rolling little offbeat 16th dotted echoes. Right, so just listen to those and get the vibe of them, and they also become the foundation of a whole bunch of other variations, you know. So we can, just because we've got the grid doubled up, we're doubling the tempo, we put the hi-hats in at 8ths, but because the grid is doubled up now, we're doubling the tempo, these 8ths have got a nice grid line between them. So we've got lots of space to try variations on 30 seconds. So we could let's try putting one there, a snare, and get this quite low in velocity, not too loud. 30 something, so it's really subtle, little lick the drummer's doing there, little drag. We'll try one there, and another one there to go with it. Yeah, hear that? Yeah. And you just put them in and listen and try experimenting. Yeah. Like that, yeah. I could put one in, say, there and there as well. Yeah, and then what you do is you put in these little variations and you kind of feel the vibe of them. They're kind of right. And if you put the echo up on the snare, if these are right, these little offbeat licks are right, then the echo will work with them to create little rolls coming off these little extras you've put in, little 16th dotted little things. Yeah, and then you know they're on the money, right? So you just put them in and experiment, and you know, I could try bringing that one back. Knock that one out, and you got so bring that one back to an offbeat to give it a bit of variation. Yeah, that works. It's maybe not quite so nice, but it works alright. I'll try putting that one there, and then put another one there. See what I mean? You just put them in and you feel that vibe, and if you need to adjust velocities to tweak them to give them a little extra variation as well, you know. And you just check them with the echo. You know, these, if I bring up the echo, the 8th dotted now behaving as a 16th dotted. If these are right, then the echo won't clash with them. all is good. All right. Well, I'll take these out, and I'm just going to leave that one little echo, that one little echo positioned or echo friendly little lick in there in the first half of the bar here. Like that. Okay, there you go. So that's the thing there. Let's copy it over and get a fill in. Copy it over. Copy it over. Copy it over. We're not using these timbales, so I'll take those out. And in the last, okay, now each of these double bars is a bar because we're doubling the tempo. So that's a bar, that's a bar, that's a bar, that's a bar. That's 4 bars, 4 cycles of the bass line. I'm going to put the fill in here in the last bar, the 4th bar, in the second half of the bar here. All right. So we'll clear out all the hi-hats from this second half of the bar and the snares, but I'm going to leave the kick doing the stepper 8s because with a stepper beat the drummer will often hold down the stepper 8th as he does the fill to keep time, right? Get rid of the hats, get rid of this little double. So there's a gap for the drummer to come into the fill. We'll come off a slice of the hi-hat like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do a traditional 30-second tom fill. Remember, we're doubling the tempo, so these 16ths, the default grid is behaving as 30 seconds because we're doubling the tempo. So we're going to just have a traditional 30-second. And then a couple of 16ths there onto the loud snare with a crash and a little like that. Yeah, and there you go. In fact, for this we could try a bit of a louder tom. Let's open this up, go to the overheads, which is always got the instrument on, open our drum kit. Let's try the plexi, the 70 plexi toms, but dampen them down. You know, whatever you like, but there's like a tom fill at the end, right? Traditional. Let's give them some velocity. Accent the first one. So they just come down in velocity across the fill a bit. There you go, traditional 30-second fill on the toms, and there's the whole thing. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Oh, and one last thing: if you do a track in this double tempo like this, where the grid's acting in half time, of course, as I've shown you, your echo, your 8th dotted echo, is now behaving as a 16th dotted echo. So if you put it on the guitar, you get the faster 16th dotted echo. So to get an 8th dotted echo back at this double tempo, you've got to create a new, look on the guitar here, we'll create a new auxiliary send, sending out on the next available bus. The return is automatically created receiving on that bus. We'll call this echo 2. And we'll put another tape echo on here, tape delay. But we'll give this, we'll make this quarter dotted, but because we're working at double tempo, this will act as our 8th dotted because we double its tempo. So this is going to be our 8th dotted echo now. And the previous 8th dotted echo has now become a 16th dotted echo. Okay, so I set up my new echo, give it some send to the spring reverb. Okay, and now this is my 8th dotted echo. Okay, the quarter beat dotted echo is now behaving as an 8th dotted, and the previous 8th dotted is behaving now as a 16th dotted. Okay, so that's the other thing. If you want to get your 8th dotted echo back, make another echo return, going to a quarter note dotted. That becomes then your 8th dotted because you're at double tempo. The previous echo, 8th dotted, has doubled its tempo to become a 16th dotted. Okay. Alrighty, there you go. Hope that's useful. Yeah, I hope that's useful, and I'll see you for the next beat soon.